Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me today on Sigma Sunday. So what I'm going to talk about today is leadership and neurodiversity. I get this question quite a bit from people about the intricacies and the uniqueness of this trait that can go along with being a leader, as well as being a leader and learning about people on your team who may have some neurodiversities. So what is neurodiversity? Basically, it just means that your brain thinks in a different way, operates at a different function. It's nothing good, it's nothing bad, it's just very unique and very different. I've had lots of people ask me if I think it's a help or a hindrance. And for me, personally, I think it's a superpower. For me, it just shows up in a way that I am able to read a room very quickly. I'm able to sense things off of people that maybe others can't. And I think for me as a business owner, and especially as a therapist, that can be really, really helpful. So who am I to give you this information? My name is Rebecca Sonnenberg. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I also might be the entire neurodivergent umbrella. So what is that umbrella? Well, underneath the umbrella of neurodivergency is things like anxiety, OCD, dyslexia, autism, ADHD, which is autism and ADHD together, and ADHD and ADD, and there's several others. One of the things that I will very much caution anybody on as we're working on this and learning about this, please, please, please be very careful about self-diagnosing yourself. Whether it's on the internet, whether it's through social media, I would ask you to just be careful. I'll give you a funny story. Many moons ago, I wasn't feeling good, and I decided to get on the good old WebMD. And I put in my symptoms, and sure enough, what did I have? Prostate cancer. Well, not only did I not have cancer, I definitely don't have a prostate. So any type of diagnosing without an actual professional can be very, very dangerous. So please be careful. When it comes to being a leader and having neurodiversity or being an entrepreneur, this can show up very differently for everybody. So please take everything with a grain of salt and learn more about yourself and your team. But these are just some tips and trips. How about tricks? Sorry, guys. So for me, with my ADHD and a little bit of autism, I like to make sure that I write things down. And everybody who has ADHD will typically tell you that they have 7,000 notebooks that are just all over the house all the time. I don't do that. I have one notebook. I literally use it till it dies, and then I get another one. But then do I hold on to all of my notebooks? Yes, of course. So I guess in a way I do have 7,000, but all of them have been put to good use, I promise. But this helps me to really be careful about not forgetting things, not getting overwhelmed, not dropping the ball. Typical ADHD can show up like having 600 web browsers open all at the same time. It's like having multiple channels on your TV. And although you're able to sometimes ping pong between those things and get stuff done, can also be really distracting. Can also make it really hard when people are having a conversation with you and you're thinking about 27 things down the road or 5 things you need to do later today. Mindfulness can be really helpful with people with ADHD, but it's also very, very frustrating, and you have to be gentle with yourself as you learn the mindfulness techniques that you're going to use. So if you're going to do mindfulness, go with some grace and maybe just start with doing 2 minutes a day. Maybe while you're making your coffee in the morning, you're just sitting there and you're just focusing on what are you smelling, what are you hearing, what are you seeing. Those kind of things can be beautiful mindfulness tricks that don't take a super long time, so you're not frustrated with yourself and you're not disappointed. You may never get past that 1 to 2 minutes of mindfulness, and that's okay. Everybody's different. Go with grace, okay? The other thing I tell people is that as a business owner, if you're neurotypical, let's say, and you have no neurodivergencies and you're just living your best life and you're not worried about anything, but you have somebody who works for you and they have a lot of anxiety. If you walk into their office and say, hey, Jim, I need to talk to you. Jim has now calculated from the moment he was born to this very moment while you're talking to him, everything he's ever done wrong, all the reasons why you're going to fire him. And the sad thing is that you may actually be in there to tell him he's been doing a great job and he's getting a raise. But I can guarantee you Jim thinks he's getting fired. So doing a simple thing as, hey, Jim, I've got some really great news. Do you have a second to come and chat with me? Can change everything. Doesn't have to be anything huge. Doesn't have to be this big tweak. Just as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, you just know. I got to be a little bit more graceful with some people. The other way that this can be really helpful is, let's say you have ADHD and you're a business owner and you struggle with something called time blindness. Time blindness typically means that you forget what time it is all the time. It means that you're probably late to a lot of things, especially when you're really enjoying something or you're really hyper-focused on something. An entire 10 hours will get past you before you realize that you haven't eaten, you haven't gone to the bathroom, and you've missed every meeting you had that day. It can also mean that you show up really late to things like meetings, get-togethers, staff meetings, everything, which can make you look really sloppy. Looks like you don't care, looks like you think your time matters more than mine, when in fact you just were sure you could get a 45-minute drive done in 15 minutes. So if that's something you struggle with, then you just make sure you have somebody in your life who can remind you, hey, you gotta go, like now is the time. And then they can also be reminding you, hey, this meeting is done at 11. I'm gonna send you a text 5 minutes before, maybe 5 minutes after, and just make sure that you know this meeting is done and you're on to your next one. It may sound like a lot of work, but as you get used to it, as you grow into your skills and into your neurodiversity, you may find that those things get easier and easier. One of the other things that I always tell people to be careful with too is that everybody is very different. Women typically will show up with symptoms in a very different way. Women will internalize things and men and boys will externalize. So when we talk about kids, especially when it comes to ADHD, you typically see boys who are moving around a lot, they're wigglers, they're bouncing off the furniture, whereas girls will internalize it. So they may be more perfectionist, they may be even the mean girl at school. So it's just one of those things to be mindful of and keeping an eye on how different being male versus female can show up even in our brains. The other last tip or information that I will make sure to give you is that I don't want you to think that there's something wrong with you, that there's something broken, or that the people that work for you, they're more difficult, they take more time. Their beautiful brain may work differently, but it probably also comes with a lot of really wonderful strengths. So where do you find what they're really good at and give grace to the things that are a little bit harder? If you know that somebody has a really hard time paying attention, how do you allow for movement in a meeting? How do you allow for meetings to be a little bit shorter, right? So it's just those little tiny things. How do you allow for you to bring fidgets into meetings or coloring? Things that may seem a little fluffy and a little not so businessy. Sometimes even just things like that bring a little bit of joy and a little bit of peace. So if you have questions, if you have anything that you would like to know more about this, please make sure to put it in the comments. I know I went over some stuff pretty quickly and there's lots of see, I did it again, you guys. Tricks and tips. So if you need them, see now my brain's got too many browsers open. If you need them, please put them in there.